Whether you're new to the hobby or have been burned countless times by listening to talking heads on YouTube, or you've been ordering games straight from the hotness, I'm here to help. Sure, you could browse the BGG hotness and top 100 and cherry pick titles that look interesting to you, or just pick up everything that Dice Tower puts its seal of excellence on. But what if I told you I had a tried and true 3-step method that would allow you to go unearth hidden gems that are perfect for you? And in this 3-step process, there's 2 of which that are pretty familiar, but number 2, I hope, is the absolute holy grail for you in finding your next game. This method, of course, is dependent on you've at least played a couple games and you have a couple games in mind that you really, really like. My hope is that this method may unearth some interesting games that you haven't heard about. They're not in the hotness nor in the top 100. Based upon your unique desires and needs, these will become absolute favorites in your collection. So stick around. We're going to go over my tried and true 3-step process to unearth the next hidden gem into your collection. And the first step is a little counterintuitive, because it's to watch YouTube. I'm not going to say go watch my entire catalog and find the things that I say are great. I want you to go build a relationship with a content creator that you agree with the most. This is not a step where you choose somebody based upon their good looks or charisma. I want you to go find people that you closely align with. Go to these creators and actually watch reviews on games that you love and maybe even games that you hate. You'll quickly find out if you kind of meld with a particular creator's tastes, and then they can become a trusted partner in your pursuit of those hidden gems. Most people, including myself, would stop here. They would subscribe to some of these content creators and just wait for them to make a video on something that's hot that looks interesting and go buy it. I've done that a million times, but that's not the method. The method is to go build trust with somebody. And I do have some suggestions to start. This is a wide variety of creators that have a wide variety of views on many different games that I have enjoyed and go to. Board Game Hangover, this dynamic duo does a really great job in diving deep into games, in telling you why you might like it and why you might not. Board Game Bullocks is no BS, straight to the point, right down the middle on stuff he likes and he doesn't like. I really enjoy his delivery. Thinker Themer is a absolutely wonderful couple that I truly, truly love to watch. I've been watching them for years, I guess, at this point. I really value their dynamic. One is very into theme and other into mechanics. They are absolutely wonderful. Go check them out. Then Foster the Meeple, another dynamic duo. This couple is just so fun to watch go back and forth on games. I have aligned with a lot of their tastes in the past, and they are somebody that I absolutely listen to. Table Knots, I think Table Knots is a really underappreciated channel. I found them with Quackalope back in the day and have continued on their journey and really want them to continue to grow. I think they're great. Board Game Co. is somebody I've been with since the very beginning. I've found mini games through Alex, and you might just match well with him. Kavre is, once again, another dynamic duo, an absolutely wonderful couple who loves board games. I've been following along on their journey. They've been growing a lot. Really great takes on games, and actually, I think, underrated how to play videos. I've seen a lot of really great how to play videos from them recently. Go check them out. And Shelfside, I've actually personally been really influenced by. I really enjoy the really deep dives in games. This is not a 10-minute and under channel. This is a deep dive going into the nitty-gritty. And if you know my channel, that's what I like to do as well. So I highly recommend Shelfside. And that's not an exhaustive list. There are many more out there. Those are just some to start with and to see if you match with. Some preface to this is BGG is a wonderful resource. Its hotness has its flaws, and the top 100 has its flaws. First and foremost, the hotness is flawed because it is fluctuating at all times. In fact, I think the number one game right this second is due to a controversy and not even because it's good per se. The games come and go really, really quickly. I have bought many games on there that are probably ranked in the thousands at this point just because they were on the hotness. I've been burned more by the hotness than basically any conventional method. So you just have to beware. The hotness also nests with the follies of just watching YouTube. I went into this in a recent video where I talked about my experience over the last year, but YouTube rewards people making videos on the hotness. So if the hotness is flawed and we make videos on it. The other part of BGG is the top 100. So the top 100 obviously has some of the best games ever. In fact, it should technically have the top 100 best games ever, but it doesn't. So the tricky part here, and by the way, I've done another video on this talking about 9 games that will eventually be in the top 100. Go check that out if you're interested. But the top 100 is marred by a statistical trick that is a necessary evil, but it is holding some games back. And that trick is BGG applies around 1,500 dummy ratings of 5.5, which buoys the game. That game then takes a significant amount of interest and reviews that are above that 5.5 mark to drag it up the ranking. So really, to get on that list, you either need an insane amount of hype and frankly stock in a game to get it out to enough people to actually love it and review it and get it up that list. There are certainly some examples on that list that are very recent that jump up there very, very quickly, and those are probably pretty good bets, although there is an argument to be made on hype actually inflating your sense of enjoyment on a game. But I digress. There are a large group of games that are sitting outside of that top 100 that might have an average rating, which is different than the geek score, which is what raises your ranking in the top 100. There might be that group of games that are sitting out there that are absolute hidden gems that might never hit the top 100 for various reasons. I could imagine instances where games came out on a small print run with a new publisher that might not have the experience of being able to get a game back to press and shipped very quickly, and it loses momentum and hype and never makes it to the top 100 or never makes it back to the hotness. Those are the games I am really interested in finding. There's also older games that probably never had the hype and never had the chance, or might just be a niche game that is perfect for you. So in this method, this is how you unearth those hidden gems. And it's pretty simple. It's through filtering the BGG game list. For the last few years, I didn't even know how to get to this filter, and doing research, and I think I found this link on Reddit. I don't know if there's an easy path to get to it. I still haven't found it. I've just saved this link, so go straight to it and let's start filtering. First step here is to pick a game you really enjoy. When I first started my board game journey, I loved Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride was something we played into the ground until we got completely sick of it. I actually, right after that, went on a journey in trying to find the best games. At that point, I didn't know what BGG was, so this method still wouldn't have worked. I think I bought Catan 2-player, which we played one time and didn't really understand. And the hobby never really got off the ground for us until I found Wingspan and Everdell. In this instance, you're going to go to your favorite game, Ticket to Ride's page. And now we're going to go ahead and look at the mechanics. Pick a mechanic that you enjoy about the game. In Ticket to Ride, I really enjoyed the set collection aspect. You see, you're basically drafting tickets of a specific color and then turning those in to play your trains onto the board. That mechanic was fun. I really enjoyed trying to make those sets, and it's really what made the game go. So now I have what the game is, and I have the favorite mechanism. The last thing I need to do is to note the weight. In this instance, it's 1.83. So the weight is very important, and it is a subjective measure. Members of the BGG community vote on that, and the weight goes from 1 to 5. Just as a reference, games in 4 are insanely complicated relative to Ticket to Ride. So my recommendation here is we use this as a benchmark to then maybe filter out some very complex games that you might not be ready for. So you have to ask yourself, was Ticket to Ride perfect complexity and you really don't want to go any further? Did it feel pretty hard, or are you ready for a next step? In this case, I am absolutely ready for a next step. That's the 3 pieces of information you need. Let's go and start filtering. So the first filter is ratings and number of ratings. I recommend looking for ratings from 7 to 10 and looking for games that have at least 1,000 ratings. If you don't put this last filter in there, you're going to get a lot of junk, and it's going to be really hard to find those gems. So now we're talking about the weight. In this instance, Ticket to Ride was 1.83. We're going to put our lower bounds at 1.9, and we're going to take this around 1 point higher, taking this all the way up to 3. So this next one is the secret sauce. It's the mechanic filter. We determined that we really liked set collection. So in this instance, we're going to filter on just set collection games. However, if you want to find a specific combination of mechanics and get a little higher level and a little more specific and more likely to get games that feel like Ticket to Ride, you'd want to filter on something like network building as well. For this instance, I want something that feels new. I don't want another train game. So we're sticking with set collection and let's submit it. So you could filter this list a couple different ways. You could filter it by the geek score, of course, and I had talked about that's how a game gets into the top 100. However, in this instance, I really want to find some hidden gems. I mean, there's some really great games on this list, but I've just heard about a lot of them. Seven Wonders, Pandemic, Wingspan, Everdell, Race for the Galaxy, more Seven Wonders. It's all feels pretty samey. So let's filter on average rating. Here we go. Castles of Burgundy, Clank, more Pandemic, Wingspan. There's a lot of classic games. Once again, I see a lot of these in Target already, so these don't really feel like hidden gems in this instance. But of course, you can continue to go down this list until you find something interesting. However, I do know that I want something maybe a little more modern, maybe something that's come out fairly recently that isn't on the hotness. So I'm going to go back and change my filter just a little bit. And now I'm going to change my year's release range from 2020 to 2023. I don't want 2024 in there. I don't want newness, hotness. I don't want the stuff that's already sold out or people are overreacting to. I want something that's been able to age just enough, but still feels fresh and modern. So that's the filter. Very interesting. I now have a fresh new batch of games here, and rating on the Geek Score, there are some interesting things. Flamecraft, Calico, Meadow, all of those look pretty interesting, but let's just see what happens when I filter on average rating. So I see Castles of Burgundy again, some more Ticket to Ride. Hey, what is this? Life of Amazonia. This is something I've heard a little bit about, but it kind of fell off of my radar. This one looks really, really interesting. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to check it out. All right, so this looks like the game for me. There's one last crucial step. Remember, you went and built a relationship with a content creator. In this case, I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm just going to search Life of Amazonia and see if any of my trusted partners are there. All right, first and foremost, of course, we have Dice Tower, but the third result is the number one on my list, which is Board Game Hangover. I'm going to go ahead and watch that video and see what they say about it. They mentioned it's good at 2-player, which I basically play most of my games at 2-player. They also mentioned bag building, which wasn't even something that I was looking for, but my family absolutely loves Quacks of Quedlinburg, so this looks like a absolute home run for me. I found my game. So going back to the filter, there are tons of different options and filters and ways in which you can distill down to games in which are new to you. And in this case, I found Life of Amazonia. It just so happens that a few of you in the comments during my recent Harmonies, Calico, and Cascadia video recommended Life of Amazonia. So it's fresh of mind. I see it there. I triangulated by watching Board Game Hangover, and now I'm going to go get the game and maybe tell you about it. So hopefully this method stops you from falling into the pitfalls of just looking at the list on BGG, whether it be the hotness or the top 100, or just watching the hotness, which happens to be on YouTube. It's heavily skewed towards the hotness. So if I find flaws in the hotness in BGG, I'm certainly finding flaws in YouTube. However, many of these games or gems that might be hidden now and maybe flying underneath the radar might have been games that have been covered in the past by your absolute favorite creators. And if you found any other methods, then let me know in the comments. I'm always open to new paths in board game discovery. I think there are too many board games, which makes it really hard to find the good stuff. I think we're finding a lot of the heavily marketed stuff, and that might not be the best thing for you. So if you made it this far and gotten any value out of it, maybe watch a couple more of my videos and maybe see if I happen to be one of the creators that have similar views as you. Outside of that, thank you for being here and have a great week.